Do you feel hated just for being who you are? Are you tired of feeling guilty when you haven't done anything wrong? Well, feel guilt no more. Go free of that guilt with the book Go Free, a guide to aligning with the archetype of Western kind by Jason Köhne. Only $9.99. Learn of the anti-whiteism and meme pathogens which have been holding you back and go free of them with the power of meme curatives. And that's not all. Order now and get Born Guilty, liable for compensation, subject to retaliation, which takes the reader into Jason's home to learn of two great tales, Crucible and Prometheus Rising. In Crucible, you'll see the world through Jason's eyes as he struggled against the anti-white society surrounding him as a child. In Prometheus Rising, you'll learn of the mythical tale of Prometheus and his creations, which will instill in you a great understanding and love of our people, as well as an understanding of the evils that seek to destroy us. Born Guilty is available now for just $24.99. Get both Go Free and Born Guilty on Amazon.com. What's that? Prometheus Rising and Crucible are now available as standalone books, and they contain art not available in Born Guilty? Well, for just $11.99 each, you can get Prometheus Rising, Take Back Your Destiny, and Crucible, Child Patriot, American Victory. But wait, would you like to get your copies signed by Jason Köhne himself? Then forget Amazon. Go to NoWhiteGuiltCollectibles.com. That's NoWhiteGuiltCollectibles.com. Don't wait. This is a limited time offer. Order yours today.
diversity higher, there is a diversity fire. It is not the similarities that make us the same. It is the differences that make us different. The truth is hate to those who hate the truth. Atonement cannot be made for a grievance never committed. There is no Western civilization without Western kind. In a world of collectivism, individualism is suicide. Hollywood isn't history. Hollywood isn't history. Isn't history.
Yes, folks, remember, Hollywood isn't history.
Isn't history.
We are seeing Hollywood on display in this trial here in Fairfax County, Virginia. And we see how ugly of a thing it is. I don't know if you all could hear me before you could see me. Let me know. That would be interesting to know if you were able to hear me. Great to see everybody that is here and who will be sharing the stream while we are together. We have our new America, don't we? Cocaine Johnny. Not the quite the same as Quaaludes Johnny. Hello, young lady. We have Kate is with us. Kingdom of Vinland, Popcorn Power, Vic Tree. I like that. Cowboy says, went to Walmart today. It wasn't a fun time. Among the Walmartians. Popcorn Power, thank you for the feedback. Could you hear me before you could see me? I spoke over the video at the end. And I don't know if it was audible or not, but it would be nice to know. Piers Taylor, how are you all doing tonight? The Alabastard, well, hello to you. Doing well, but very cool morning here in Oz. Below zero. Wow. At sunrise. Below zero. That, of course, Celsius is below, well below, it's our freezing, it's Fahrenheit. But since they are, Piers Taylor is in the southern hemisphere, going the other direction right now. All right, as usual, all of the platforms are up. If you'd like to financially gift, you can do so with cryptocurrency as well. You can head on over to knowwhyguilt.org, click on the financial gift tab, and you will see the wallets there through which I accept cryptocurrency financial gifts. Otherwise, Cash App, Entropy, Odyssey. Great to see everybody on all of these platforms. Does anybody know where, don't look, does anybody know where Fahrenheit and Celsius agree? At what temperature? Don't look it up if you don't know. Mr. Fookers is here. Great to see you, brother. Artificer is here. Corey, what's this about, he says. Cocaine Johnny is different from Quaaludes Johnny. This is America's new, not brand new, of course, but, and for the West, fixation is all of these trivial things and the vulgar lives. This is what you get to see here firsthand in this trial and all of these sorts of trials. And we've seen it every time these Hollywood couples and the like, they come to trial, and you get to see the dirty laundry, the dirty feces in the bed sheets. You get to see, this is the woman, Amber Heard, that they put before you as this great dame, and victimized, of course, by what? By Johnny? No, of course, by Western civilization, because you, if you are a white man, wherever you are in the world and whatever you do, you are going to be victimized because of this, because the population will see the harm inflicted on Amber, and she has just been crying away today and yesterday, hasn't she? Since she's taken the stand, it has been nothing but a histrionic melodrama, to be redundant, from start to finish. And what kind of an outfit did she have on yesterday? Good grief. She came in today in something much more feminine, and I don't know if that was her new her new publicity company. She fired the other one because the headlines were not good. She hired a new one just before she took the stand yesterday. What day was it that Tuesday, right? She took the stand, and all of a sudden the headlines have changed. Amazing how that works. Might it be artificial in the anti-white narrative? They're able to just maybe pay a few people off, make a few phone calls, and all of a sudden the headlines change. Popcorn Bar says, looks like Jason is fired up about something. Sort of, but I just wanted to get together. Dr. Dinger, good to see you. Ah, yes, 40, negative 40. Yes, Bella Curve. And everyone, Tim, Arch Nemesis, 0022 here. Great to see you. All right, well, I'm going to get into this, and we'll see what you all have to say. You can give your opinion. This is the opiate of the masses. They love. People have traveled to fair. I am not far from this courthouse, and I took you all over there the other day, and we had a look around. It was quiescent. It was a placid, wonderful place. A lot of money there, and but it's not placid and quiescent when you have these degenerates slither out of the Hollywood, to places like Hollywood, with all of their many millions of dollars, which so many people have been taught to perceive as actual value in the world. How many dollars does somebody have? But nonetheless, they slither around, and we get to see what it's really like inside these shells, these very pretty shells that they wear. And it is a disgusting place. It says here, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, and their $50 million defamation suit. Why Johnny Depp and Amber Heard are both accusing each other of domestic violence? Well, because they're both guilty of it. Interestingly enough, you have seen quite a few of these pick-me women who have come out, and it's all about Johnny can do no wrong, save Johnny. And who knows how much is fabricated by Amber. Perhaps they're both fabricating a little, I would imagine, to build their cases. They both have done magnificent performances in the witness box. I would say so far, Johnny's performance has been better. I think Amber has never really been a decent actor whatsoever. She has been over the top, and it's been beyond wretched. Whereas Johnny was a bit more believable, wasn't he? Doesn't make him a better person, though. America is watching the defamation trial of Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard in Fairfax, Virginia, and America appears to be deeply confused by it. No, they're not. They weren't last week. This is just the new PR firm. Vanity Fair reports that as Court TV broadcasts the trial, it has doubled its daytime ratings. You see, it doesn't matter if you're being white erased from your civilization. The borders are wide open, and whatever else the anti-whites want to do, you have many tens and tens of millions of white people who will just turn out for something like this. And of course, they're going to take sides. We all know that I'll just tell you this if you weren't aware of it or you didn't come to this conclusion on your own. If Amber had been dark-haired and dark-eyed, she would have been the dark-featured one in the relationship. And if Johnny had been blonde hair and blue-eyed, he would have been the light-featured one in the relationship. And it would have been fait accompli. Completely reversed. It would have been Johnny is guilty because he's the light-featured one. And it would just fit the script for the anti-white narrative. But now you have this conflict. Amber is the one with the light hair and blue eyes, I believe, yes. And of course, Johnny is the dark-featured one. When white people are going to be permitted to play the good guy in a movie, they've got to be dark-featured and or inundated in an interracial cast. So Amber went into this really hobbled with her feet. She should have dyed her hair. What color is it naturally? She should have gone dark as possible for the trial. But of course, she doesn't have anybody as intelligent as us to advise her on these things. Hashtags associated with the trial have repeatedly trended across Twitter as viewers watch and discuss the celebrity case of the year. It's messiness, it's scandal, the glamorous movie stars at its heart, and the question of what to believe and how much. Well, I don't know. They're going to believe just as much as they believe in the movies, which is everything is reality to them. Everything, of course. This is a murky, perplexing trial. While it's technically a defamation trial over a newspaper article with Depp suing Heard, at its center is one big conflict. Amber Heard says Johnny Depp abused her. Depp says Heard abused him. So what's the truth? Well, obviously, these are both people who are degenerates. They both abused each other. They both have no excuse for being degenerates. They both have agency. They're adults. They're both anti-white. She's more anti-white than he is, from what I can tell. I don't follow these people, their lives, like some do. They're just pretenders to me and not worth all of the money they're paid and all of the photographs that are taken of them. Strikingly, for our post-Me Too world, post-Me Too, nah. It looks as though the loudest voices on the internet have overwhelmingly sided with Depp. So do you hear that there? There's a subtext. You have to look between those lines on your monitor, on your phone, because what's written there is that the people that are backing Depp are not because they have any argument, perhaps a cerebral argument. No, it's just that their voices are the loudest. That's why you're hearing them. Not because they are more numerous, not because Amber seems totally psychotic. While there's compelling evidence that there was violence on both sides of this marriage, it's not quite so clear that the evidence supports Depp's story or that he has much of a shot at winning the case. Now, there's truth there in the last line. All the jury has to do is believe any of her claims from the Post, and Depp will lose the case. That's it. So I don't know. In the Washington Post article, did she say that he beat the hell out of furniture? What Depp does, and let me jump in right here and say that technically she should already be a loser in this case. Because if you date someone, if you are, it doesn't matter what kind of excuses they give you. And of course, these feminists, these anti-white feminists, feminism just being a subset of the superset that is anti-whiteism, they always love to come in and they love to have the argument that a woman is powerful and strong and can do anything that a man can do, except she can do it better. And then at the same time, they make the argument that a woman is so weak and can be so easily deceived and manipulated. And they're always weak and deceived and manipulated by men. They make both arguments so that they can have victory in both places. It's pretty obvious to us who are serving white well-being how this works. Just to the rest of the population, they scratch their sloping foreheads trying to figure it out. But if you're dating somebody, if a woman is dating somebody, and it doesn't matter if he buys her a pony or he buys her, and he did, I think, and a bunch of other things, that all doesn't matter. If that person then beats you up, which she claims that he did prior to while they were dating, long prior, if he forces himself on you in that stage of dating, the moment you say I do is the moment you say I accept that treatment. You can't then go back and say, oh, that wasn't good that he beat me and raped me then. That wasn't good. And then that continued into the marriage. Too bad. You have said I do to that kind of behavior. The argument that, well, she had an opportunity to get into a marriage with a really rich guy, and who's going to pass that up? So therefore, no, that is preposterous. The moment she said I do is the moment she said I'm okay with being raped. I'm okay with, being cavity searched. I'm okay with being beaten. The claims that she's making here, we don't know exactly what took place. It sounds like to me in these audio recordings and from the testimony, you have two extremely dysfunctional people, which welcome to Hollywood. What do you think anti-whites are going to hire? Anyhow, these people, if you haven't been able to ascertain this yet, they have no power in and of themselves. They have no ability to make their way through the world. They would be in the gutter if it weren't for anti-whites of extreme wealth and power tapping them on the head and saying, "You, my dear, will be a star. Now get on the casting couch and spread your cheeks." And that works for both males and females. That is how Hollywood works, a disgusting place. So the fact that our people worship these folks, the reality is, really think about it. I'm going to get right back to this. Think about this. We talk about this in Go Free, which is why you need to pick up the practice. You don't know what it is? Ask me while we're here. Why don't I get more questions from new folks? I'm a nice guy. I don't bite unless I am extremely sexually aroused, and then you will love it. But beyond that, I will just answer your questions. I will coddle you. I will take care of you. I will help you from your place of benightedness in the world to a place of enlightenment and liberation. Let's do that, shall we? Franklin is here. He's a great champion. He'll make sure you go from A to Z in all things well. The great Rory Herbert, great to see you as well. Mike, an afterburner, great name. That's very cool. I just posted my favorite plane recently. Can anybody name that plane in the live chat without having to look? The population looks at the movie screen, the TV set, and they see these people pretending. And consciously, they know they're pretending. But in their subconscious mind, they think it's real. You see, Johnny Depp is this wonderful swashbuckling character. He swings in on a rope, he smashes through a window, and he has some sort of eyeliner delivered witty and most pithy quip. And then poof, he's gone. Wow, wouldn't it be something to live with somebody like that? That is their reality. And so they travel around the world, some of them from Australia, to the once wonderful fair town of Fairfax, Virginia, the county and the city itself here, and the new buildings right beside the antiquated ones. They travel here to say justice for Johnny on their signs and things like this, because they're not looking at Johnny or Amber as adults who pretend things for a living. They're not looking at them for what they actually are. If you looked at them as people who pretend for a living, they're not carpenters. They might pretend to be carpenters. They're not brain surgeons. They might pretend to be brain surgeons. They're not astronauts, but they might pretend to be them. Then it seems very foolish, doesn't it, to want to get their autograph, to follow them around from town to town and want to take photographs of them and have your picture taken with them. It's preposterous. And when you have somebody who's not the best carpenter, brain surgeon, or astronaut, because they've dedicated their lives to these things, they have to be productive, they have to have a stable life so that they can work this profession and be a master of their profession for their life so that they can earn that respect at some point in the future, which means that they can't be living lives of degeneracy day after day. Unlike an actor, a pretender, who can live a life of degeneracy and get clean or get in shape and be eloquent by way of a script for a very little, minute period of time in their lives. This truncated period of time. This is all they need to do. They just need to pretend. We very rightly were able to identify these people as charlatans in the past. Somebody who could pretend to do something in front of you, and but then if you could see another moment, you would see that it was all a ruse. But no, because the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference, because it believes Johnny Depp is a swashbuckling pilot that sails out of the mist, people behave this way, psychotic with no end. What Depp does have is the strongest public profile, though it's been over a decade since he put out a true critical hit. He's delivered enough acclaimed work over the course of his long career to earn himself a fair amount of goodwill. Johnny Depp, by his own words, he's a great example of exactly what I'm talking about here. He had never had a class in acting. He did not want to be an actor. He was a substandard musician. He went with a group of friends. They gave their band a name down to Southern California, and they were a flop. They weren't going to go anywhere. That doesn't necessarily mean that they were no good, because being the best doesn't secure you a spot in the limelight, whether it's in music or acting or what have you. Being decent with a lot of anti-whiteism behind you, that is far more likely to secure you the big money and the stage and the lights and the glitterati than anything else. Nonetheless, the band collapsed, and Johnny, by his own words, started filling out applications to work at places like laundromats. That's how much education and training this young man at that time had in the world. Laundromat. How many other laundromat employees do you follow around with a sign about how wonderful they are? Do you try to get their autograph? Do you try to have your picture taken with them? Do you fly to different cities to see them? Do you read about them in magazines? Zero. But that's what Johnny was going to be. Had he not had a friend in acting, I believe that man's name was Nicholas. Was it not? Was it Nicolas Cage? It was one of these guys. I don't follow them. And that guy, who was just struggling, and he wasn't going anywhere either, as an actor, said, you should talk to my agent and see if you can get an acting job. We make a ton of money when you get work for doing nothing. And so who knows what kind of price Johnny had to pay. Maybe he had to bend over and do more than cough. But he got an opportunity to read for the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, and he got a role there. And then still no acting education. You have people who get into acting at a very young age, and they train pretending, but they train and they never see a day of any good money. This guy shows up. He was very handsome and had beautiful hair. And apparently that's all you really need when you're a pretender. So he was immediately hired to a television show, 21 Jump Street. And then I believe it was maybe during that series or after that series that he began taking acting lessons. He said, acting is just something you learn on the job. This guy needs a script to even talk. Have you ever listened to him try to string sentences together? It is excruciating. Amber is just as bad. Except there is some, when you look at Amber, tell me if this is not the case. There is some real evil there. That woman is not right. I believe she lived as a homosexual in a relationship with another woman. And then there was I guess some domestic violence charge or something of this, where she was maybe beating on the other woman. And then afterward they said, oh no, it was the white police's male's fault. They blew it up out of proportion. You know, we were just beating each other to death or whatever it is. So Depp has earned himself a fair amount of goodwill, they say here. The star of hits like Edward Scissorhands and let's see, Donnie Brasco and the many Pirates of the Caribbean sequels, Depp has been nominated for 3 Oscars and been named People's Sexiest Man Alive twice. I'm sure that it served him well on the casting couch. For a while, at least, he was one of those people who are so bankable that they seem able to get away with anything. A white man who is also a true A-list sex symbol. Well, now, of course, there is, I don't know exactly, perhaps you all can tell me. He has, a grandparent that is an American Indian? And he, of course, is a dark-featured white man. They have no problem, the anti-whites, overlooking this, especially when they want to use him and to push that angle in the population. But the moment that they want to turn on him, he suddenly becomes a white man, which, of course, he is seen by folks to be. It doesn't matter what he says or what the actual DNA says, his DNA profile. It doesn't actually matter. How does the population perceive him? They will perceive him as a white male. If they were going to cast him in a commercial today, but nobody knew that he was Johnny Depp, he would be the thief breaking into the house when a non-white police officer storms in because of the security system that's being advertised there has alerted the non-white men to come and save that single white woman who has maybe one white daughter and a biracial son with her. And he would be dragged off, this unknown Johnny Depp, to prison. That's how it would go. Victorian time traveler is with us. Great to see you, brother. I'm not sure if anyone has said this already, but back in ancient Rome, actors were considered very low class, like prostitutes. Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. And there is a real history about how in the United States, this is before film, and this is during the stage. There are a couple books on this I read many years ago about how the owners of these theaters decided to promote actors as something special to get people to come to the theater. They said, well, at my theater, you're going to get this particular actor, and this particular actor is really worth mentioning, while all of the others are just typical actors and we don't give them much credence. And the problem initially was that there were too few named actors that they built up. They built up this reputation as truly amazing entities. And so those individuals became powerful because people ended up wanting to see them. And then they were in the position to dictate to the theater owners what their salary was going to be, what they was the birth of the diva at that time. But the theater owners were not about to be outwitted by dumb actors. So the theater owners just said, okay, well, we will multiply the number of people that we celebrate. And the population seemingly had an endless thirst for any number of stories about the amazing abilities and talents of this or that or the other actor. And so there you have born what we now see today. These reams and reams and reams of degenerates that are built up with stories of how glorious they are and put on the television and the screen, and the people are told about their achievements, their tours de force, and then long for them all through the day and night. And this is the kind of thing that they long to see, that they laud as a special kind of person. I wonder if we controlled our own destiny. I just wonder if it would be any different. I wonder if we might put in front of people and celebrate people for behaviors that lead to productive families, behaviors that lead to law-abiding civilization, that lead to achievement, civility, advancement. I think we might. He was up there in the upper echelon with George Clooney, Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio. So here's the question. Why, it just struck me, why didn't Johnny Depp just do like Leonardo DiCaprio does? What's the age limit for DiCaprio and his girlfriends? And all of these women who claim that I need to be respected, respect women. They have no problem getting in line to date DiCaprio. When at, what is it, age 19, he's like, hit the road, you're too old. It's starting to show. 22, 20, 18, whatever. All these women, they suddenly don't care. They want to kick and dominate your ass until DiCaprio says, all right, I pick you. Okay, I'll submit immediately. Wealth, money, prestige, pretty face. That's the main thing. Pretty face. And then he's like, hit the road, bitch. You're getting fat. You're 21. You're 22 years old. You're about to hit that wall, so I'm going to replace you. I think DiCaprio, in that kind of a position, in such a sick society full of all this rot, DiCaprio's approach is the only one that makes sense. Because look at Depp, look at all of these other people. You're going to fall in love? Is that what it's going to be? Really what's happening, I guess, with DiCaprio is he's seeing, okay, it's been a couple things going on. Her looks are going to go bad from here on out. I've got to have her for the highest high water mark of her sexual market value. And the longer she's with me, the more she will see how this machinery works. And the more she will be able to dig her tentacles into it and maybe slander me, maybe, get half of what I have or whatever it might be. So he just gets rid of them. Think about his body count. Oh my God. Think about all the STDs that guy's spreading around town. As Depp's film career declined over the course of the 2010s, his personal and financial troubles began. In 2017, Depp sued both his longtime business managers and his entertainment lawyer, claiming they had mismanaged his finances. Well, according to many, Depp he's a profligate, ultimately, and a spendthrift, I guess would be more accurate. And he, as a consequence, has a very little liquidity. I mean, shit tons compared to us, of course. But relative to his overall holdings and value, the liquidity is a small percentage. And so I believe he had to sell things that were draining to his finances. An infamous Rolling Stone profile from this period paints Depp as a fading and deluded icon, cut off from reality by his money, his fame, and copious amounts of drugs. They actually wrote that. That's funny. Copious amounts of drugs. He is, Rolling Stone declared brutally, quote, a punchline, bankrupt, isolated, and one more mistake away from being blackballed from his industry. Why do they hate Johnny so much? Does anybody know? Downing Armour is with us. Great to see you. Hawker Mustang says Will Smith is getting a divorce. Jilly is here and Mick is here. And Jilly says, another Roland. Jason's on fire these past couple of weeks. Well, I appreciate that. Please smash the like button and share the URL. If not now, maybe later. Talking about actors is just, copious is a good word. Talking about these actors, these pretenders, in an actually productive way, rather than just getting neck deep in their filth, is beneficial. It's beneficial. From this period, infamous Rolling Stone profile, we read that Heard, on the other hand, was just beginning to approach the point of becoming a household name. When she first met Depp on the set, a household name. What a sick country. What an absolutely sick. Maybe we need to go back to men playing female roles. Let's see. Or maybe only allowing acting for children. She was just beginning to approach the point of becoming a household name when she first met Depp on the set of The Rum Diary in 2009, apropos. At the time, both were, she drinks like a fish. She absolutely drinks like $120,000 they showed in the court on wine a year. Good Lord. Even the best wine. Talk about a lush. This is, if this person lived beside you and wasn't on the silver screen, what would you think of them? Spending $120,000 on alcohol, but you can ratchet it back for whatever the income might actually be if she weren't in acting. So let's say she's making 40 grand a year, whatever, middle class person, and then the equivalent percentage of income spent on being an alcoholic, a lush. And, you're going to find her lying in the front yard. You're going to find her puking out back. It's going to be a wreck. It's going to be a mess. Are you going to be happy to live beside that? So could you imagine you hit the lottery or whatever, you have a bunch of money, you decide you're going to go buy one of these McMansions and you move in beside this? How far do you got to go? She was just beginning. At the time, both were in relationships with other people. Over 20 years younger than Depp, she had her first major job as a supporting character in the 2008 stoner comedy Pineapple Express. When The Rum Diary came out in 2011, it was a sign that she was entering a new phase of her career, playing the love interest of A-listers. I tell you, meeting Amber, I'm sure I would take a step back. No, I would actually run to the men's room and I would reappear in a hazmat suit after having bathed in fire. From being that close, things are just slithering off of her. Hello to everybody over there on Odyssey. Let's see, online storage. Here is the next anti-white movie, a low-budget one. I'll take a look at that later. Thank you for sharing it. Hello to everybody over there on D Live. The few of you who are there, and the few of you who, it's all good friends. It's just good friends getting together. Dean Thomas is here. Says, all glory to Christ. Thank you for being here. Great to see you. Let me refresh these screens and see if anybody has anything that they absolutely want to have said. Remember, tag me as No White Guilt if you have something to say to me. We have people showing up and they're just trying to hold a conversation with me and not tagging me, and I just have no idea. Let's jump down a little bit. From there, Heard went on to play major roles in 2015's Magic Mike, Extra Large, Extra Large, The Adderall Diaries. Boy, I mean, it sounds like, how do you actually get paid for this shit? Seriously. And in 2017, she was cast in her biggest role to date. Who cares? Aquawoman. Wait, that is amazingly apropos. It's just not agua that she's swimming in. Yes. Is she the Aquawoman to the Aquaman? Seriously. Did they find the drunkest bitch in Hollywood? And that's how she got the role? All this is to say that when these two figures met and throughout their marriage, Johnny Depp was a known quantity to the American public. Amber Heard was very much not. So here's where the anti-whites at Vox are trying to say, oh, she was in this vulnerable place. You see, this is why they have you call non-white people minorities. To say they're in a vulnerable place. They're unknown. Oh, yes, she's a millionaire, but unknown. To find anything. Find anything. She's not as physically as strong, but she is, because she's a woman and she could do anything a man can do, but she can do it better. Moreover, their relationship coincided with Depp's long and very public downward spiral. By 2012, Depp and Heard had split up with their respective partners and began dating each other. In 2014, they got engaged. And in 2015, they got married. Now, of course, I think the story was that I saw, and if you have any info on this, share it with the chat before we get out of here. But they were on the Rum Diaries, and they had a scene where they kissed. And they both agreed during the trial that when they French kissed, they actually French kissed instead of just pretending to French kiss. And that was like the moment for them. Oh, how romantic. These disgusting pretenders who are just kissing everything, put their mouth on everything in town, whether it's formed with a lips or a sphincter, whatever it might be. Just whatever it is in town, they're putting their mouth on it. How romantic. And you end up seeing then these text messages, and I don't know I guess it was also text messages and audio recordings of Johnny. And this is something I shared when I was actually a child. I said, how do actors in these relationships, how do they not always go bad? As soon as I was old enough to understand that these relationships in Hollywood almost always go bad, I said, how is this? How could this not almost always happen? And just everybody accept that when you have people you're dating, you're married to, or whatever, and then they're going to be in a movie, a play, or whatever it is, and they have a love interest and they're making love, or they're grinding up against each other, so it's pretend making love. Or maybe it's not, because maybe the French kissing was not necessarily always fake, so who knows what's going on. How could they not get jealous? And adults said to me, don't be foolish, young man. They know that they're professionals and that this is just part of their craft. That is a stupid thing to say. Well, we hear these people getting very jealous over each other. Did you get, he's asking whether or not she got this way or that way aroused when she's fooling around with this guy on the scene or that guy. Of course, there's going to be such a thing, because we are the human animal. And this is the way the human animal behaves. If you're in a relationship with somebody and they just say, whatever you'd like to do, then rest assured that they're out doing something as well. In 2016, Heard filed for divorce. 4 days later, she filed a request for a restraining order. Everything else would follow from there. Now, picture this. You have Johnny Depp's just colossal mansion and colossal mansion and colossal mansion and island and sports cars and yacht, and Amber shows up. And she's like, where do I gotta, where can I put my back and spread my legs? And then all of her friends and family, they start showing up. They're like hanging out. They want to like use the pools, and they want to use the sports cars, and they want to use, and Johnny's is like, well, whatever. I mean, she's getting on her back for me. And then they have all of this tension because they're wrecked people, because he's using all of these kinds of drugs. Amber saying in the courtroom over these past couple days, of course, now, like what we have on our title, that Cocaine Johnny is different from Quaaludes Johnny. She's dealing with a guy who is addicted to substances, so much so that she can tell the difference between the substances. She's being hit by him. She's being groped by him. These are all her claims. And what is the other side of this? Seriously, what is the other side? What is she getting? Why isn't she running away? Well, it seems like she was availing herself to all of these wonderful things that this guy owns. And she was looking really important to her friends. And oh my gosh, you're dating Johnny Depp. And oh my gosh, you're marrying Johnny Depp. And so she put up with it. She put up with it. She said, I do. And I think that, in my opinion, that's that. If you said I do with all that going on before, then Nothing you can say about it unless there's some kind of change in behavior about after getting married is legitimate. You can't complain. You gave up your right to complain when you said I do. It doesn't matter if he comes to you and says, well, I'm not gonna I won't do it anymore. So I'm not going to believe that you, as a full-grown adult with agency, which you have even though you'd like to disclaim it when it works to your benefit, I'm not going to believe that you, as a full-grown adult with agency, fully aware of the situation, is going to be satisfied with I won't do it anymore. No, what she was at that moment was, okay, I hope he doesn't do it anymore because I really like the pool, indoor pool. I really like the private island and the helicopter rides. I really like all of this sort of thing. I really like all his connections that can get me into more movies and make me a bunch of money as well. And also, how is he having, I wondered this the other day, how is he having, she comes to this marriage. Were they keeping their finances just totally separate? Why wouldn't she say, oh, you're having trouble making your payment on the yacht? Let me write the check for this month. I don't know. Here's your guide to the trial. And of course, this restraining order, this is typical female garbage. So is her countersuing for $100 million. Talk about, this is totally anti-white and also totally female at the same time. Anything that a female or an anti-white in general when it comes to females, certainly not in this community, because only the best females as well as the best males come to this community in service to white well-being. But if they are ever aggrieved, a female, you'll know this, everyone, they will respond as though to harm you in response, as though that tiny grievance is worth a response 100-fold. And so this makes perfect sense that if he sues for 50 million, that she probably actually said $1 billion. And then the lawyers were like, oh, that's not gonna fly. We'll make it 100 million. But it's completely typical. It's not like eye for eye when it comes to women and anti-whites. It's like your whole body for an eye and all of your descendants and all of their descendants. This is that vindictive nature that lives in all anti-whites, male and female, and is widespread in females. Not all of them, but widespread. Johnny Depp is suing Amber Heard for defamation because of an op-ed she published in the Washington Post in 2018. In the op-ed headlined, "I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change." This is the anti-white narrative. We talked about that before. And so she's speaking to the fictitious narrative. The king's clothes are gorgeous, ladies and gentlemen. In the op-ed, okay, that has to change. Heard never mentions Depp, but she refused. And what a snarky little bitchy thing to do, because it's obvious that she's talking about him. But she refers to herself as a public figure representing domestic abuse, making $33,000 a speech doing so. Depp and his lawyers have argued, and a judge has agreed, that Heard is clearly implying that Depp abused her over the course of their year-long marriage. She has said as well before the marriage, as I've been pointing out. Heard first publicly accused Depp of domestic violence in 2016, when days after filing for divorce, she requested and received a temporary restraining order on the grounds of domestic violence. Now, mind you, this bitch went and got this restraining order when in audio after audio and text message after text message, Depp is trying to get away from her. Depp wants to leave the room. Why is that? Because Depp knows he's a white man, just like she says to him in private in the other recording. You're a man, nobody's going to... Does she actually say white man too in that audio? Does she say you're a white man, nobody's going to believe you? But of course, that's the subtext there. They both know that as a white man, he's just guilty no matter what. He has this burden on his shoulders no matter what. He has this debt to pay no matter what. He has this guilty written across the front of his head, like the baby on the cover of my book, Born Guilty. Guilty is written on his head as a white male. Tomb of Arminius says, just man, she says. So he knows that. So he can't retaliate. He can't defend himself against her. I'm not saying that he never shoved her, punched her, whatever she claims, or she'd been hit or whatever. I think probably, I don't know. I think probably because she admits to hitting him. She didn't punch him, she says. She didn't deck him, but she hits him. So probably that's something like this, the side of the fist here, because there's no other way to hold the hand. She says it's not a slap. So she's probably making a fist or something very close to a fist and then hitting. That's a chop. We see martial arts people going through wood and cinder block and bones with this part of the hand. So she's striking him in the head, the face, the neck, or whatever. And I can see a man shoving someone away who's doing this, shoving a woman away. She falls, bang, she hits her head. And then what? Instead of saying, I was beating the crap out of him and he shoved me and then I stumbled and fell down and I hit my head and that's what ends up happening. No, it becomes a story for her to make, photographs of bruises for her to take, to go after him later. I mean, this is vindictive evil from this is no innocent. She came in there yesterday dressed in this three-piece suit. And it was extraordinarily out of place for the role she's trying to play. Did you see this? It was I'm a woman. I am assuming a new role in this new Western civilization. I think anti-whites would reverse the attire and then require the reversal. So women will be in three-piece suits. Men will have to wear dresses. But she shows me she's got like this pinstripe shirt on and this three-piece suit. It was actually comical. She looked to me like maybe I'm not kidding, in my genuine opinion, she looked to me like a young teenage boy. Hadn't started to grow any facial hair yet. And she had that like hair hanging down. So she could have looked like a teenage boy, young teenage boy, who wanted to be a rocker, and just to be incongruous, decided to put on a three-piece suit rather than the normal attire that is de rigueur for rockers. And so I think this new company that she hired, they probably got to her and said, "What are you doing? You want to go up there and you want to look like the most innocent little angel. Put on something feminine." To be up on stage before those jurors. And it changed today. She had much more nicely attired today. And the hair also was infinitely better today than yesterday, sending completely different signals, which means what? Which means this bitch is acting. Just like the other bitch, Johnny Depp, is acting up there on stage. But it's difficult for him because he doesn't have the script to memorize. He can't I was waiting for him several times to yell out line because he was just searching. I've never heard somebody make that sound of searching for a word so long. So this guy was trying to leave the room, always trying to get away from her because he knows that as a white male, no matter what is going on, he's going to be guilty. If he's always trying to get away from her, and that's what pisses her off, and she said to him, "You got to stay and take it. You got to stay and take my verbal abuse. You got to stay and take my physical abuse until you submit. Then we're happy." I mean, this is like a giant percentage of white females these days, regrettably, and probably females of other races as well, but I'm not observing them. I'm concerned with white well-being because so few of us are in the world. So I'll let all of those other folks and all the white people who are thinking about them continue to do so. But we can be happy in Amber's mind. We can be happy if he will stay here and take the physical and mental abuse from me and submit. Then we can be happy. And so when he says, finally, we're getting a divorce, she goes out and gets the domestic violence restraining order. I mean, give me a break. She's going to keep him from, no, this guy's trying to get away. Heard first publicly accused Depp of domestic violence in 2016 when, days after filing divorce, requested temporary restraining order. Depp's lawyer promptly issued a statement saying that Heard was lying, attempting to secure a premature financial resolution by alleging abuse. I have a recording of my mom saying that she was going to lie in court and say my dad was an abuser, writes Victorian time traveler. Thank you for the bravery to do that, to share that with everybody. Yeah. Everybody has this experience. Everybody has this experience with women. Not every woman, but I mean, it's just a widespread reality. Believing emotions are thinking and then behaving this way. When the pair eventually reached an out-of-court divorce settlement in 2016, Heard withdrew her request for a permanent restraining order. The pair also issued a joint statement that bizarrely made the claim that neither of the contradictory statements each made about each other were true. Now, this is Vox, of course. They want to make the case that the white male in the equation is evil and the white female is good, because white females, you're still just a little bit. They're holding on to you all for a little bit longer. Some of you, increasingly, white females are getting the same treatment as white males, and that's a good thing. I see this, what was it, down in Georgia or whatever? They said that people born with penises, I don't know, what did they say? Sex will determine who plays in what sports. That's not a good thing. I want females who are born with penises to compete with females who are born with vaginas. I want more of that. I want more white women complaining about getting the shit stomped out of them in sports, in academia, everywhere else, because of anti-whiteism. We can't have, I mean, it has been that division of the white man from the white woman, cleaving her off, that has undermined the family and truly been a significant nail to the heart of Western civilization. On the other hand, there was, and she also, Amber Heard, they're not saying it here. Maybe they do. We'll see. On the other hand, there was never an intent of physical or emotional harm. That was the quote. So Depp wasn't abusive. And on the other, quote, neither party has made false accusations for financial gains. So Heard wasn't lying for a better financial settlement. It was in what appeared to be a move meant to back up the second half of the joint statement. Heard, who reportedly got $7 million in the settlement, announced that she would donate her settlement to charity, dividing it between the ACLU and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Of course, we know now that she did not pay this by way of the trial, but this could change. And perhaps my interpretation or my interpretation of those who interpreted it that way could be wrong. But what we heard is payments, we heard about Heard, is payments for Amber coming in by way of other individuals, maybe even Elon Musk. Who knows? We'll never get to the bottom of that. The announcement seemed to be sending a signal. Heard couldn't have been lying about Depp abusing her for money because she didn't get any money out of the divorce. What motivation for making her accusation could she have unless it were true? Well, that's where I can clearly see here Johnny Depp and his lawyers were outmaneuvered by Amber Heard and her attorneys because they should have stipulated that the money cannot go anywhere but to her. Since they didn't do that, that left her in the position to claim that she was going to give all of the money away. And then there's a big difference between claiming that she was going to give all the money away and actually giving the money away, right? You claim you're going to give all the money away, and the anti-whites celebrate you, and they're going to write that in the sky, and that's what everybody will remember. They'll never see that the money was not given away. And then later, if the ACLU or one of these other groups decided to say, well, we haven't gotten the full payment yet, we've only gotten this sum from Amber, nobody's going to remember when was that supposed to happen, and what is she still making payments, or I don't care. Just tell me the next juicy gossip. Regardless, gossip outlets talk about gossip. Like TMZ rapidly aligned themselves with Depp and declared Heard a certain liar. In her op-ed, Heard claims that she was dropped from a movie and a fashion advertising campaign after making her accusations. Depp, meanwhile, kept working. In December 2016, it was announced that he would play a key role in the Harry Potter spin-off franchise, Fantastic Beasts, and where to find them. Well, apparently in the Depp-Heard household. It's worth noting that the first wave of accusations and denials all came fairly early in 2016, months before the election of Donald Trump. How does Donald Trump work into this? And more than a year before the accusations against Harvey Weinstein that would send the culture exploding into a new way of talking about the abuses of famous men. Okay. Now, you know what's going to happen here is Depp, of course, white man. Donald Trump, white man. Harvey Weinstein, white man too. For this purpose, at least. Some feminist pop culture commentators, and myself included, okay, so the author admitting that she is anti-white, were up in arms about the story, but by and large, there was little energy there. After the divorce settlement, it seemed poised to melt away like a piece of cultural ephemera, a vague memory that America largely agrees to wince away from and just not talk about too loudly, like Rob Lowe's sex tape. Sure, that's the anti-white narrative she's talking about, which is Bravo Sierra. Depp would keep working and Heard probably wouldn't, but whatever. And that wouldn't just be the way things went. I'm going to see what you all are saying. How long have we been going? Long enough. Sound Killer is over here on Entropy. Financially Gifting. Tomb of Arminius is here. And Loki is here. And Samantha P. says Amber Heard is suing for another $100 million as well. Could you imagine these sums of money? And there's the great Fornull is with us. Great to see you, brother. Sound Killer. Let's get a round of raucous emojis together for the one and only Sound Killer. Financially Gifting, $25. God bless you, brother. He writes, hello, Jason. I was speaking with a family member that identifies as a Republican, and when speaking about abortion, he predictably made the statement that it affects non-whites disproportionately. How do you respond to people when they have that takeaway with this particular issue? So, brother, and if you want to add any clarifying thoughts, please jump into the question widget over there on Entropy and add them. I really appreciate the financial gift. You're a great champ for white well-being. I am assuming that this Republican family member is talking about the effects of abortion on non-white people because he or she objects to abortion and says we have to do away with abortion because it adversely affects non-white people. Is that accurate? What I would do with somebody, if that's accurate, what I would do with somebody like that is I would go right for that exposed nerve, which is abortions, whether you know, are for them, people being able to get them, or opposed to them being available at all, it is undeniable that many women who receive them have problems, some of them physical, most of them emotional, that continue for some time, and in some cases for their whole lives. And so I would ask this family member, since this is the case, why are you overlooking the suffering of the white women? You're white. Why do you see it as moral to overlook the suffering of these white women, leap right over their suffering to get to the suffering of non-white women? There are organizations galore, almost all of them overwhelmingly staffed with white people. Some of them are 100% white. People volunteering, donating their time. There are organizations that take donations from vastly more white people than anybody else, that serve at all hours of the day non-white people, that are concerning themselves with non-white people, that are reaching out to non-white people, that offer innumerable programs for non-white people, dollars uncountable for non-white people to mollify their woes, to raise them out of choices that they have made and the misery that they have brought upon themselves. None of that exists for our people. Why do you think it is moral to ignore the suffering of white women and just put it right on the spot? Ultimately, what's happening, Sound Killer, is that your relative has learned that white lives don't matter by way of the anti-white narrative, that non-white lives do matter. Now, remember, non-white lives, though, by way of the anti-white narrative, only matter insofar as you can victimize Western kind by way of non-white lives mattering. If you can't victimize Western kind, then their lives and their opinions don't matter. And how do you know that? Every non-white person that decides to hold or take a public position against anti-whiteism, any aspect of it, immediately is attacked as racists, as white supremacists, and then other slurs that we can't say on YouTube that are not racial slurs, but nonetheless are slurs that we can't say or don't want to say. They're attacked. So it demonstrates that their lives and their views and their opinions don't actually matter. It's that their lives, opinions, and attitudes only matter when you can victimize Western kind. And so I would really put the person on the spot and make them speak to that. It's akin to these white people, and you can do this the same with folks, friends, family, strangers, when they want to give to charity. White people will fly their dollars over the heads of needy white people in their town, in their county, in their city, in their state, in their province, in their region, in their country. They will fly the dollars, the packets of food, over hundreds of thousands, millions of needy white people to get to non-white people in some distant land. Why? Because the lives of those needy white people don't matter to them. And the starkest way, the easiest way, the direct way to bring their attention to that disgusting, immoral behavior is to point out what I just identified here. So if you have anything else you want to clarify some in the question widget, the Tall Kevin widget over there on entropy, and I will check it out. RG is with us. Hello and welcome. Lemon and Lime is here. Exactly, Jason. We need to help each other instead of taking on other races' problems. Well, precisely. Hawker Mustang says white people love to virtue signal. Yeah, they do. And we call it, since we're in our story, we like to call it villainy signal, because in our story, it is villainy to overlook the hungry white child in your town in order to feed a non-white child in, let's say, Beirut. Surely that child needs food as well. But the Arabs, especially those multimillionaire, billionaire Arabs that live far closer, they should be giving the food to those needy Arab children, because they're not going to be flying food over the heads of Arab children to your white needy children who are in your town. You need to be doing it. So we refer to this as villainy signaling. They want to villainy signal how immoral they are, because we don't adhere to the anti-white morality. In our story, it's an immorality. We don't subscribe to their ideas. We don't share their villainous concepts that they would call virtues. And I'm not worried about what they will call them, because in our story, it's just villainy. That's how we recapture our destiny. The great Jerome is here. Wonderful to see you, brother. Bane clandestine. Whoa, ladies and gentlemen, let's break out the big raucous emojis. Please, 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 please. Remember, celebrate. What were we just reading up there above? We were just reading about Johnny Depp, no training, handsome, dark-featured, wonderful hair, right? I mean, you got to give it to him. He has hair follicles and wonderful hair. And they end up saying, we'll give you this title, sexiest man alive. Here are some Oscars. We'll give you some more awards. We'll celebrate you, some more accolades. This is what we need to do for ourselves. So break out some accolades, some cheering emojis for the great Tall Kevin 87, who just financially gifted $300 US. God bless you, brother. I deeply appreciate that. $300. And this guy, earlier in the year, $2,500 advertising for white well-being. $300. My God, thank you so much, good brother. He writes here with that $300. Haven't been too active here recently because of travel, but had to give back for the ideology that honestly made my life better and hopefully those around me. No BS. Tall Kevin 87 on Instagram is how everyone can find me. Jason, where have you experienced the best physical location in the U.S. to enjoy our people's history? Museum, battlefield, national park, etc. That's a great question. This is a wonderful testimonial as well. What a champ. What a champ Tall Kevin has been from the very beginning. So he's talking about the practice of going free. It's just a practice. It's like eating right, working out. It's in this book. You can get on Amazon. You can go to nowhitecollectibles.com if you want to get a signed version of it. And it's just a practice. It teaches you about what you have been poisoned with, these anti-white concepts that we refer to as meme pathogens. This workbook is very easy to implement, and you use it, you write in it, and you don't just read it and put it up on a wall, and it will change your life. And we have testimonial after testimonial of people having their lives changed by this practice. And Tall Kevin, absolutely here, gloriously, a testimonial with that $300 financial gift. Wonderful and wonderful timing, brother. God bless you. And then a magnificent testimonial with this. Haven't been too active here recently because of travel, but had to give back for the ideology. But honestly, the ideology that honestly made my life better and hopefully those around me. No BS. You can find him at Tall Kevin 87 on Instagram. And he asked the question, where have I experienced the best physical location in the U.S. to enjoy our people's history? Museum, battlefield, or national park? Well, museums are out. if it is something about our people where the anti-whites can slander us. Because they will. So battlefields and national parks where you can bring with you, unless you could do the same thing to a museum if you want to, but it really then just becomes like an exercise, which you can do, of going free, where you go to the museum and you see what they have to say about our people, and you have your own information with you. And if you're alone, then I would suggest bringing somebody so you two can talk about it and talk about what the anti-whites are doing and why they're doing it, and then thereby get better at identifying meme pathogens when you're out. But I like to go to battlefields and national parks and bring with me the history of our people that I know is true and makes me feel pride. And so I'll look that up beforehand. That's a great question. But definitely you could go to the museum and do the same thing. Bring the information with you. Great question. Tall Kevin, what a champ. Sound Killer got in here on the Tall Kevin widget. By the way, folks, it got that name because Tall Kevin was using it so often. And so we have Sound Killer saying here, yes, that is accurate. He is in favor of Roe v. Wade being overturned. I just wanted to run this by you for advice. I'm clear on how I could have summed my stance up more quickly now. Great. Well, thank you for asking that, and thank you so much for that financial gift, brother. Yeah, there are a lot of concerns about Roe v. Wade and how this is going to play out moving forward, even if overturned. And I say even if overturned because didn't you all think that elections somewhere else in the world, not in the United States, but elections couldn't be stolen? So who knows? But even if that happens, even if it's overturned, the kind of fallout, what will happen in states, the states, of course, will be able to decide. And will that then, in states that prohibit abortion, potentially in case, well, I guess, yeah, potentially with the exception of cases where there's rape and incest, etc., will that then engender other laws that will more sharply contrast the states one from the other, and then engender a significant movement of people out of some states and into others? Rory Herbert is here with a $10 financial gift. Bless you, brother. Great to see you as always. 2 years ago, Johnny Depp told the High Court in England that he lost $650 million since he starred in the Pirates of the Caribbean and owed $100 million in taxes. To put that into perspective, my friend and ex-roommate, that other actor, yes, famous in the Princess Bride. What was his name in the Princess Bride, Rory? I don't know. Hold on. Oops. No, where is it? Does anybody know? Did anybody write it in yet? Carrie Ellis was what? Yeah, the one with Andre the Giant. What was his name, though? The protagonist. Wesley, wasn't it? So what did Carrie make? So he has a net worth of only $8 million. And he lost that suit, didn't he? Did he lose that suit? I can't see. Yeah, I think he did. Princess Bride, yeah. Wesley. Yep. Jelly says Wesley. That's what I thought it was. Anyhow, he filed that suit in the UK, and he lost, which meant that he had to pay the tabloid over there that's called him a wife beater, I think it was, but I can't find the article that I saw of that suit before. So he said in the high court that he lost 650 million and owed 100 million in taxes. But Carrie Elwes, which was a roommate and friend to our dear brother Rory Herbert, his net worth is only 8 million. And he is best known for his role that we think was Wesley, the character's name, in The Princess Bride. So I don't know, Rory, do you know how Depp lost that case? How did they prove that it was, how did they say that there was enough evidence of him being a wife beater to call him that? Hey, Sound Killer just came back, ladies and gentlemen, with $50 more financial gift. Wow. He said, I've also been wanting to let you know that my life has improved drastically over the last several months. I quit my previous job and found a far better one that I actually enjoy, and am making a lot more money. I'm so glad I made this change, and I've found a number of coworkers that are receptive to the message of going free. Promethean hails. Well, Promethean hails to you, brother. My God, what a fantastic testimonial that is. Big round of raucous emojis for Sound Killer, please, ladies and gentlemen. $50 more on top of the 25 he already gave. And this is really wonderful because this has happened too. I've received the messages from people who have benefited economically from going free. And I usually don't share those as often because if it comes to me privately and then I share it, this is public. If it comes to me privately and I share it, it sounds too much, I don't know, like infomercial-ish. And I don't want it to sound that way. You know what I mean? So here we have Soundkiller, though, saying, I've also been wanting to let you know that my life has improved drastically over the last several months. I quit my previous job and found a far better one that I actually enjoy, and I'm making a lot more money. I'm so glad I made the change and make the change from that job to the new job, because he made the change from where he was in an anti-white narrative to the change of being the hero in our story, which is what the practice of going free teaches you how to do. I'm so glad I made this change, and I found a number of coworkers that are receptive to the message of going free. Promethean hails. See, so much becomes available to you when you begin to release your innate abilities from the burdensome chains of anti-whiteism, the mean pathogen concepts. It's truly amazing. I've had people write about benefiting economically. I've had people write about getting stronger. They had plateaus, and powerlifters, so physically stronger, of course, emotionally stronger, changing their lives in so many different ways. And the moral thing for us to do is to let all of our brothers and sisters know that this is the wellspring that you can go to improve your life, that you can have this in your life. You know, these radical individualists and laissez-faire capitalists, they want to have this this like secret socialism where they get secrets and they have connections, and then they don't want you to have that socialism so that they can lord it over you, that they can be a power over you, that they can have the nicer things, because it's always in their minds a zero-sum game. But that's not the way we behave. That's not Kipping. Keep it Promethean, which means that reason, logic, and evidence are at the core of decision-making and interpretation. And one of the biggest points, observable by way of a honest inspection of what works and does not work in the world, is that your well-being is achievable by way of your group's well-being. And it will not endure. You can succeed at the sacrificing at the expense of your community, but that does not endure. And we should consider that the highest immorality, the grossest crime, to behave that way to our people. So God bless you, Sound Killer. That's magnificent. And strong men do trump the power lifters. Yeah, you watch those competitions. They're amazing. Tall Kevin comes back with another $3 on top of the 300. What is this? Martina, is that Marcostas? Stream is on right now. Sorry, Jason, but listening to 2 streams, it's hard, but she makes it harder. I don't know who she is. I'll have to check it out later. Well done, though. God bless you both. Let me see what's going on over here, and we'll see if we have any other questions. Okay, we're blank there. Didn't miss anybody. There's the great Roy Danton has just shown up. Wonderful to see you, brother. James is here. Tim is here. Wouldn't it be something if Rory could get it in touch with Carrie? What's his name? Elwes. Wouldn't it be nice if you could get in touch with him and get him going free? Because he's pretty anti-white now, I think. Misty is here. Misty and who was another name there? Carrie. Just slide through quickly and see if there's anybody else has anything else to say. Anything to say about Amber, Johnny Depp, and what's going on there? RG is here. Yeah, big thank you. You'll have to talk, Kevin. You'll have to rewind, to use the old vernacular. You'll have to rewind and have a look at our response to you. We gave you a big celebration, my good friend. Thank you so much. You're a great champion. I really mean it. Piers Taylor. Promethean Healing. All the stars are showing up. Maybe I'll just make a quick check on the phone to see if, make sure Cash App is working on the desktop, because it had stopped a couple weeks back, but it does appear that it's working, so good. Artificer said, how's Mr. George? Jared George. He says, haven't heard from him in a bit. Well, he and I will be back together on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. And it gives me an opportunity to mention that for the after party tap. And we will have the great Sven on with us from across the pond. It's going to be an excellent conversation. We will be diving into how he came to his current views and how he built his platform that now hosts Mark and many other folks. So I believe that is it. Maybe jump to the bottom of this article and see if there's anything we can end on. Justice for Johnny, with this woman standing out front of the Fairfax County Courthouse. A Johnny Depp supporter outside the Fairfax County Court on April 11. That's all they have to say about her. She's just nameless. A sycophant whom Johnny will never think about. But she has thought about on many a lonely night. It's unlikely that Depp is going to win this case, writes the anti-white at Vox. U.S. libel law places the burden of proof on the accuser, not the accused, which means it is on Depp to prove to the jury that he didn't abuse Heard. If he lost the case in the UK, where the libel laws were more favorable to him, it's hard to see him pulling out a victory in the U.S., except, it's true, it's a thin shot, except in Virginia, there was, and this is part of the reason why they moved forward with the suit, I'm assuming, the libel laws were a little different. They've changed to be more in keeping with other states and places like the UK after this process was started. So they're under the old law, as far as I know. It's also difficult to see Depp's reputation fully recovering from his recent string of lawsuits, even after Heard accused him of domestic abuse. Hollywood had plenty of cover to continue business as usual, as it worked with Depp up until he dragged the fight into the courtroom. He wasn't fired from Fantastic Beasts after all until he lost his UK case. Another loss in U.S. courts is likely to leave him a toxic liability for movie producers for a very long time. And Heard, who has less of an established reputation to protect her, is potentially at even more risk. Oh, of course, she will be hurt. It's always the case. It's always the case with anti-whites and with most, but not all women. They're always hurt so much more because they feel more. That's the issue. Whatever. You know what ends up happening for the person, the group, etc., who's always complaining about being aggrieved the most and being rewarded for being aggrieved the most. Eventually, your mark, the mark of these people who are saying these things, that they're aggrieved the most, eventually the mark says, so what? I don't care. Eventually they become callous. And that's what was happening in this relationship between Depp and Heard. He kept trying to get away. He kept saying, I don't care. So what? Because he couldn't dominate her. He couldn't be the man in the relationship because she had to be the man in the relationship, since white women control the households across the West. All he could think about that, guys out there. All the millions, this even has an island. And it's not enough. I think he should start behaving like DiCaprio. In this case, proving one thing. If this case proved one thing, however, it's that Johnny Depp is still a star, and he's still capable of commanding the nation's attention. And for a movie star whose light is fading fast, maybe that's enough. Aw, a little dig there by this anti-white bitch, Constance, who wrote this article, probably on methamphetamine. Well, we'll take a quick look here, see if anybody else has anything to say. It's good to spend, real good to spend this evening with you all. EXO over there on D Live has tagged me. And writes this. I recently purchased a printer If by total accident adhesive paper with no white guilt got printed, would that be a bad thing? Well, absolutely not. If that were to happen, it would be a most wonderful thing, especially if they were to fly off your shelves and attach themselves to all lawful areas, of course. If they get reposted somewhere that it's not permitted, it will be because of the deeds of evil anti-whites who wanted to make us look bad. Okay, we have a financial gift of 100 library tokens. $100 library tokens over there on Odyssey, and from Question Everything. And he writes here, "Hello, Jason. Sorry about the other stream. Thank you for reading my comment." What other stream? I don't know, brother. He says, "I love my wife. She died at the hands of anti-white doctors, and she embodied the good in white women." Wow. I'm deeply sorry to hear that, brother. That was, if she embodied the good in white women, then she was a true angel. And there's no wonder that anti-white doctors then, with their ineptitude or callousness or evil, targeted her or took poor care of her. But make sure, brother, that you live every day of your life in victory for her, because that will be victory for our people. Folks, please send your prayers and positive energy to Question Everything, who says, "I love my wife. She died at the hands of anti-white doctors, and she embodied the good in white women." Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that with us and having the courage to share it. And thank you all for acknowledging that. Question Everything's wife. We have here Sound Killer. Oh, before we get to that, we have Tall Kevin. $5 financial gift, $5 more financial gift. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, bro. Just an FYI to everyone. But the content creator Poseidon seems to be some type of asset or straight up anti-white. Have you noticed that? Yes, I've heard a lot of people sent me messages, and they don't know what happened. Poseidon used to be in circle of friends, and I haven't had any run-in with him at all. When COVID came around, and he appeared on our shows. He was on tap, and we appeared on his programs, and me and Jared George and others. And when COVID hit, it hit him and his family particularly hard in Greece. And not apologizing for him at all, but excuse me. But I think he had a couple of, maybe a death or two, and then he has some kids, and he really became most frightened. I don't think he would disagree with this, about COVID-19, and was of the mind that I think he was of the mind that it was just like killing everybody that it touched. And that I think he became a big supporter of vaccination and things like this. And it just, I think he stopped producing much content, or produced, let me just say, a little bit of content during that time. And then I would get these messages about how, did you hear what Poseidon said? And then eventually it's gotten to the point where he has regrettably included in his criticisms of antique nationalists or cult nationalists, he's regrettably included the term white positive. So I haven't spoken with him. I really liked the guy. And I'm not saying I don't like him now, but I mean, we just haven't talked in a very long time, and especially since this started. And I hope that, for him and his family, he gets through whatever it is, and he gets back onto some sort of a healthy track. And then perhaps if it's, instead of it being, I guess, undermining of what we do, if it gets someplace that it's more in accord, then I would be happy to maybe appear with him, have him on again. But right now, he is on a war path, it seems. And thank you. Yes, thank you for bringing that up. I think a lot of people remember him from years ago before COVID, and then they're really shocked when they say, oh, that guy's still making content, or he's making content again, and then they show up, and he's going after not just, like, I guess, problem people, that cult nats out there, but he's everybody, I think, who is white sympathetic in any way. Sound Killer back with another $10. On a lighter note, and thank you so much, brother, for another $10 financial gift here. He says, on another note, for the men in this community, grow a beard if you can. I've grown mine out for the first time and noticed a positive difference in how people interact with me. Well, that's interesting. So you've grown your beard out and you're being treated better. You think it has something to do with the beard itself. That's really interesting. I don't know if it would necessarily have the same, and I would have to know you better to give my 2 cents on it. I could see a guy with like a very weak chin growing out a beard, and then being seen, I guess, as a little tougher, a little bit more manly. But I would imagine that your new confidence, your new attitude by being a hero in our story is influencing, perhaps as well as the beard, those around you to see you very differently. So thank you so much for that financial gift and the recommendation to guys who might like to try a beard on. Pierce Taylor here, financially gifting $10 as well. God bless you and thank you, brother. He says, I was really impressed by Kate and your analysis of Chantel's internalized anti-white narrative. Normal people's lives ruined by anti-whiteism is tragic. Well, thank you so much for that, Piers. Yeah, we had Kate and I had a great conversation about Chantel. And if you didn't see that, folks, you need to look back. We get together, Kate and I, again in my outdoor stream recently. But the first one was Inside Like This. And we talked about how this is a woman who clearly has a very attractive face, and I'm sure was very attractive to a great many men. But she had been infected with anti-whiteism like all of us, believing that our people are evil, hating our people, and therefore hating herself. And she finally had a breakdown when she was on a vacation to Cuba by herself, where she got in front of the camera, and she's big internet celebrity, got in front of the camera and let it all out. How much she hates white people, how much she hates herself for being white, just revealed it all. So we talked all about that. It was very moving because ultimately Chantel, at some point in her life, was a victim. She was a little girl, a beautiful little white girl, but potential wonderful future ahead of her, what she could make of it. And then these demons in Canada our once great country of Canada, got into her through the media, through the schools, everything, and they told her how evil her people are, how they've stolen everything from the world, how wonderful non-white people are, how oppressed they are, how poor they are. And she internalized all of that and became exactly what the anti-whites wanted her to become. And so victim now, but now no longer victim. Now she is an agent of anti-whiteism and harming the white race with every breath that she can muster. So it is a sad tale, but it is the tale of all of us, ultimately. This is when you look into her eyes right up against that camera and those tears welling up about how much she hates white people and how much she hates herself for being white. What you really could see, if you had the ability to see, behind those eyes of pure rage was the actual mask removed of pure pain and wanting to be loved, wanting to be told that her people have value and that therefore she has value. That her value is not based in how much she can destroy Western kind, how much she can harm herself. So much becomes apparent and easily understood the moment you understand that this is all driven by the infection of anti-whiteism. Why would somebody eat themselves to death? Why would somebody well, it becomes really obvious. If you're white and you hate yourself, you hate your entire people, you're inflicting injury on white people by inflicting injury on yourself. Thank you for that, Piers. Thank you for bringing that up. And Kate was wonderful on that, on both of those episodes, as she normally is. Tall Kevin back with another $3 financial gift. He is loud and proud tonight. Thank you so much, brother. $3 financial gift. He says, don't accept those. It's a scam. Don't accept those. It's a scam. What's a scam? You don't have to financially gift again. You can jump into your widget, your name widget. All right, we have, you're talking about Poseidon? We have Piers Taylor financially gifting, this time $5 hoppin' dollars or koala dollars from down under. Thank you, brother. And he says, oops, I meant that to be in hoppin' dollars. All right. We love those Australian hoppin' dollars. Thank you, brother. I really appreciate that. Tall Kevin back in here. Maybe he's going to give us some clarification. Financially gifting, though, again, $15 more. Wow, brother. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. But now maybe some clarification. He says, no, bro, Poseidon is a fake account run by multiple people. Seeing a message on a 4chan platform. He gets some of his funding from an EU charity account. He's a phony. Really? As the great 50 Cent, oh no, once said, he is a wanksta. He's a wanksta, all right? Something I probably could have gone my whole life and never have said. I would have been fine with a wanksta. Really? But now who did we talk to then? Who's that guy with the slow, soft Greek voice? Kevin goes on here and says, Jason, give yourself a pat on the back for doing what you do for our people and being a real G. Well, that's what I'm. Definitely a real G, my friend. I'm a real. Is that for real gangster to go with the theme of wanksta? That's what I am. Yes, indeed. Tommy gun in tow. But no, this is interesting. I need to know more. What is this with Poseidon? I spoke with this person. Who was I talking to? He says it's a fake account run by multiple. Was that a different Poseidon? Do we have a new Poseidon? He's now completely or was he always fraudulent? Is that what's being said? Rory Herbert back now with $3 more. We have a couple folks here that are just in a competition, putting money in the air. They're making it rain. We'll go with the same theme. They're making it rain. Rory Herbert making it rain with $3 more. Thank you, brother. Says, my mother was killed by the National Health Service in England. I have heard so many horrific stories about the National Health Service in England, to the way our people are treated. It is horrifying to still hear white people in the white sympathetic sphere that think the health service in England is the most wonderful thing. We have people flee to the United States, and the anti-whites are trying to ruin, as you know, and continuing to ruin the system in the United States. But they flee from the UK. I personally know people from the UK and Canada who fled to the United States to get surgeries that saved their lives. I can't be unique in this way. Rory says, a foreign doctor didn't stitch her up properly after an internal operation, and she bled to death a couple of days later. This is, my heart goes out to you, brother. That's murder. This is what's happening to our people from coast to coast, sea to sea, across Western civilization. In every Western country, hospitals, etc., have hired non-white doctors on the basis of their race rather than on the basis of their competence or their excellence. Our governments have financed the opening of doctors' offices that will be run with non-white and also female doctors who shouldn't have received the financing, because any investigation into their background would have demonstrated that they were not competent enough to be physicians or surgeons or whatever. And then these people operate on you, they operate on our loved ones, they operate on our friends, and they are injured for life, disfigured for life, crippled for life, murdered. This is the kind of thing that it really fills me. That really fills me with a fire. And maybe knowing the way that I handle the fire will be pertinent, because so many of us, they get enraged, they get furious, and then they just storm around their house using foul language, yelling that something has to be done. They let all of that energy just burn at them instead of taking that energy and directing it. You take that energy, you get angry enough over hearing about Rory's mother being murdered by some incompetent anti-white doctor, and you go out and you deliver 1,000 leaflets with nowhiteguilt.org on it. You go out into 100 different live chats, 50 different threads, and you spread the 5 key concepts. You have to use that energy, that fire, or the fire consumes you. I hope that makes sense. You can't just get down in bed burning up about how angry you are over this and think you're not going to suffer from it. And don't you dare take the advice of all of the pussies out there, of all the cowards who say, oh, you can't be enraged. You can't be enraged, because then they give you half the truth, because then it will just eat you up. So and what really happens there? They're demanding quiescence from you. They're demanding surrender and apathy from you. No, just don't get angry. Just surrender. Don't you dare surrender. No, instead, you let that fire rage. You feed it with tales like this, and then you use it to drive that steam engine of your productivity. Absolutely despicable. See, these systems, we are more than long along the way of the creation of Western civilization in our individual countries to be able to rely on the systems that we have created to ensure that the people who are going to be treating us are the best that are available to us. We should not have to be investigating and suspicious of the doctors that we see if they're ever something other than white, because so many of them and surgeons, because so many of them have gotten their jobs based on their race. Think about based on being non-white, not based on their race, as though white people could be included in that. Think about these medical schools, and the one that was like, I don't know, 20 years ago now, who took out the points that were given for admission for being non-white, and no non-white people were permitted into the school the subsequent year. Maybe not completely none, but it was so few that you could say the hyperbole is warranted, because it went from being a school with a ton, like lauded as a diverse school, so fewer and fewer white people, to almost no non-white people passing the exam to get into the school. And the immediate question that I asked was, well, what about all of these non-white physicians, surgeons, doctors who have degrees from there and who got six-figure salaries at hospitals and the like, who are now working as the most qualified, best people ever to be a physician on family members? Well, what's happening? They're killing them. They're killing our family members. God, I'm really sorry about that, brother. Tall Kevin back again. If anybody's going to make it rain, it's Kevin, because he's tall. He's way up there, so he could just drop the dollars down. $3 more from the great Tall Kevin. He says here, disclaimer to all, do some research. It's like, is it LeVar Burton? Don't take my word for it. Of course, he is one person, but they have multiple people setting up his account. I'm throwing the gauntlet of Poseidon. Okay, well, there you have it. I mean, if Poseidon hears this and he wants to reach out to me, send a message that he has a team of people working with him, and his purpose is to undermine. Now, what would you add to it, Kevin? I mean, what's the objective then of this group of individuals, and what are they trying to do? Is the effort to undermine any sort of white sympathetic activity? He's not terribly popular, right? If I missed your comment, folks, if you financially gifted and I missed, please jump on to the Tall Kevin widget, the question widget over on Entropy. You can write it there. It won't disappear. You or I have to delete it, or tag me on one of the other platforms so that I can see it and then hopefully respond to you before we get out of here. I'll check now over on Odyssey. I don't, if somebody over there on Odyssey could actually tell me how much is a library token worth? So that I can know. I mean, we got Question Everything. It's in 100 library tokens. I don't know what that's worth in cash. And it actually looks like Question Everything has financially gifted 50 more library tokens. Thank you so much. Bless you, brother. I really appreciate it. And you right here, see what I mean? My heart goes out to you in the UK. It is here in the US, and they are awful and full of contempt. All of my wife's doctors were non-white, foreign-born. They do not care, all caps. Probably watch anti-white media. The last stream, I thought you ignored me. Thank you, Jason. Oh, I see what you're saying. You thought I ignored you on the last. Okay. No, I absolutely am not going to ignore anybody. So I somehow missed your comment. And I don't see it there. Was it on Odyssey? I don't see it. But Anyhow, I really appreciate that. Yes, exactly. This is exactly what we're talking to and about. All of these doctors now who are going to be the ones. I mean, it's hard to actually find a white doctor at this point. All right. Looks like a Promethean promulgation is here. When my grandmother was on her deathbed, an IV wasn't attached properly and started spewing fluid everywhere. Oh my gosh. The nurse of 4 years struggled to figure out how to fix it. Wow. Yeah, our healthcare is just going to the dogs because it just keeps getting worse and worse. Unbelievable. I'm sorry to hear that. Space Hopper is with us, so is Windhammer. Roy Danton says, I used to be a mod on this channel a couple of years ago. Had to take a break due to IRL issues. Came back to find out I had been banned on this channel together with most of the others. Banned? You're a mod. You have a wrench. Maybe he's responding. Is that somebody else that said that? Or was it something YouTube had done to you? The anti-whites at YouTube? Pierce Taylor says, I think the best use of library tokens is to promote your stream on Odyssey. So what do you pay Odyssey and then they put up advertisements, Pierce, on the channel or on their platform? Is that how it works? Popcorn Power says 100 library tokens equals $2.20. All right, thank you. I appreciate you figuring out the math for me. Oh, you mean on Poseidon's channel. I get it now. Gotcha. So you were a mod on Poseidon's channel, and then he had banned you. Wow. And you didn't have like a harsh interaction with him or anything. And it was on D Live. Victorian Time Traveler says, I remember back in 2009, I think it was, they stopped requiring doctors to take the Hippocratic Oath. Really? I mean, I'm not surprised. Like it had any meaning then anymore. Taking oaths like that was something that really had a lot of meaning for us. And I'm not saying it didn't have meaning for other races, but is it really possible for oaths to be taken multiracially? I'll just drop the question and let everybody ponder. I mean, can how much can, I'm not talking about a one-on-one basis, but how much can you trust an oath taken by a member of another race to do the best by your race when, and especially if you're white, when in the world we see everything conceivable to victimize white people taking place? I mean, is an oath really, what's it worth? I don't think it's worth the breath that was used to make it. Roy says that he had been taken off as a mod and banned by Poseidon while not in contact with him. You use your library tokens themselves to promote your stream on Odyssey. So I guess does it push it forward? It must push it forward in people's suggestions. All right. I guess if everybody here who's on YouTube also opened up a good thing, probably, would be if you all open up on your browser Odyssey for the stream as well, mute that one if you want to be on YouTube, but then it would show a viewer, and the more viewers, I'm sure they would push the stream forward for others to find, because it's certainly not going to happen on YouTube. It's not going to happen on Twitter. We just proved that. Shadow banned to hell there. Facebook or any of the others. Earl is here. Hello and welcome. Over on Cash App, we have a financial gift from Caleb. Thank you, brother. Of $5 financial gift. Much gratitude to you. I really appreciate that. And great to see you. Well, to return to the theme of the live stream, we have, I think Kevin might be back with another financial gift, but we have a break now in this Amber and Johnny trial. It's going to be 16 days long or something. The judge is going away, then they're going to come back, and it's going to be Amber and the cross-examination at that point. So maybe I'll show up on one of those days during the cross-examination, because I imagine the crowd there will be whipped up with rage over Amber, and maybe some will be there for Amber, and they'll be angry that she's being talked to in anything other than a deferential way, as all women should be spoken to. How many people do we have? See, we only have 7 over there on Odyssey that's watching. So if folks were to pull up both at the same, if you have an account over there, not going to hurt you to open one. And if you could have that open as well, it would potentially benefit. What does Tall Kevin say here? Yep, $3 more rained down from Tall Kevin's great high. You know, one of the other things that Tall Kevin did was he made a banner for White Wellbeing, so that while on vacation, he could hang that on his balcony. Can you believe that? That's a champ right there. And you know what else? I mean, you know that he can't be a coward or this cringing submissive male in his relationship, because you know the typical white woman, in no way she's going to tolerate that. No way. She wants to just feed her needs of lavish relaxation to whatever degree she can get her and her husband to inform that lavishness, and doesn't want any sort of consternation. Just typical. Not all of them, clearly not Tall Kevin's wife. And Tall Kevin also obviously not the kind who's going to say, yes, dear, I won't say anything to benefit us or our people. I don't want to discomfort you in any way. Although, who knows? I don't know her. Maybe she said, you better put up that banner. You better, before we go out to that nice restaurant for our vacation here, you better put up that banner. It's not impossible. So $3 more, he says, thank you, Kevin. His purpose, Poseidon, is to pull white men into the anti-white Ukraine war and join a foreign legion like the Antnat Azov battalion for Instagram likes and get incinerated in a Soviet-era tank for George Soros. Wow. That's what he's encouraging people to do? Absolutely. If that's what's happening, that is obviously atrocious. We absolutely hate that there is a war, brother on brother, in Ukraine. And, personally, I want that to stop as soon as it possibly can. But there's no hope that the Ukrainians, there's no hope to, in my opinion, to fight off Russia, no matter how many weapons are given them and how many dollars, all the weapons and dollars giving them and foreign troops, mercenaries coming in to help. is just going to result in more dead Ukrainians and Russians, but it will affect nothing as far as the outcome. So, and that's my opinion. I know CNN would say something, perhaps Poseidon would say something different, but do not get embroiled in it. You could talk about this conflict and introduce the key concepts: anti-white narrative, anti-whiteism, white erasure, Western kind. Western kind should not be fighting itself. And that's what's happening in Ukraine and Russia. I want a peaceful end brought to this conflict, one way or the other, as soon as possible, because ultimately it just means white erasure, as our best are laying dead on the battlefield. And you could just drop these in, and that's how you empower people. That's how you take this practice to the world. That's how we are changing the world. That's how we have content creators with millions of subscribers using the lexicon and dialectics of going free. Rory Herbert over here on YouTube says, after my mother died, a local white doctor mentioned to me that something was wrong there and my father should launch a malpractice suit. He never followed it up, however. Well, naturally, what are the odds that you're going to win such a thing? You can't, I don't know that you're necessarily, and this is probably your father, but I mean, to your point before I say this, there was a professional who spoke to you and said that in his professional opinion, or was it his or her professional opinion, that there was something that was worthy of an investigation and potentially a malpractice suit, it sounds like. And then on your father's side, I would say that it's not going to, obviously bring mom back, his wife back, or do right by her and her memory. It probably would just end up in a defeat in the courts. I mean, in the U.S., we have these doctors. Their malpractice suits are, the U.S. is so litigious, and they just continue to be able to continue practicing medicine because they're non-white. Obviously not in every case, but they don't easily have their license or their licensure yanked because they are shielded to a degree by being non-white. Victorian Time Traveler says these guys who want to expand and prolong the war in Ukraine need to be called white feather ladies. I'm not sure what that means. But ladies is probably appropriate because it would be an insult to males. Patty says, I blame it on Reddit. Hello to you, Patty. Donning Armour says he disagrees completely. Now there are different opinions and different sides, if you will. I recommend not taking a side because I choose both. I'm for our brothers in Ukraine and I'm for our brothers in Russia. Let's see what Donning Armour has to say. On the Russian-Ukraine savagery, Ukraine has every right to fight for its sovereignty. Oh, I don't disagree with that. They do have a right to fight for their sovereignty, 100%. Now, I am outside of Ukraine, and from where I sit, the best thing is to end the bloodshed as soon as possible. And so from my perspective, that can mean a number of things for Russia and Ukraine. And in my interpretation of the combatants, Ukraine doesn't have a snowball's chance. And so prolonging the fight, feeding the fight, is just going to get more Ukrainians dead and Russians dead. So that's where I'm coming from. So for me, it would be good if Russia were to say, okay, we have everything east of the whatever river that cuts the country in half, or the region in half, and then everything at the south and then Russia says, that's it. We're not going to go any further. I would be for the war ending that way. Now, I'm sure Ukrainians, some Ukrainians, most Ukrainians, they would be unhappy with the war ending that way, but there's no chance of them taking back the territory that Russia has taken. So I can feel for them in that respect, that, you know, they are proud of who they are, their particular ethnicity, language, history, etc. I can feel for them on that basis. And I will celebrate the gallantry on both sides. Because, you know, the boys out there in the tanks, and they're not going to leave this conflict with the power and the wealth of billionaires. Lockie said the white feather was awarded to cowardly men who didn't sign up to fight World War I. Oh, that's right, World War I. Yep, during the First World War. Okay, Victorian time traveler got back as well. Vexed is with us. Great to see you, brother. So it's going to be a couple of weeks before Amber and Johnny are back in the courthouse. And I think I could probably go over there and maybe vex the folks out front. Like, say if I meet somebody who's for Amber, I could be for Johnny. Meet somebody who's for Johnny, I could be for Amber. See what kind of a rise I could get out of them. Machiavellia Sucks is here. Great to see you, brother. All right. I think, unless there's anything else, Question Everything saying he's a believer in cryptocurrency for the advancement of our people. It helps to promote the channel inside of Odyssey's algorithm, and I consider it a donation for the future as well. But talking about me that I could do with it whatever I want to do with it, I think using it to push the algorithm, to push us up in the algorithm is a good decision. I'll take a look and see how to do that. Do you all know how to do that? If you know, if you could write it in the chat over there, it would make it most easy for me to deal with when I can get to it. Don't forget, Johnny Cocaine is different from Quaalude Johnny, Cocaine Johnny. Just taking a look at this. Here it is right here. Amber in her deep navy three-piece suit with a blue and white striped shirt in court while describing their relationship, and she spoke matter-of-factly. She looked around the courtroom while answering her lawyer's questions, while Depp's gaze remained locked on the table. What's he supposed to do? I mean, if he actually did those things, then I would imagine he wouldn't want to hold his head high. And if he didn't do those things, what does he want to do? Make a shock face every time? I mean, who knows what people would read into it? Anti-whites would read anything they want to read. And I think maybe we'll get together again. I don't know. Tomorrow? I don't know. But we have a tweet from Elon Musk, a couple of tweets that I might want to speak to. He's asking questions. Who's paying for all of this? He wants to get into, remember, we were just talking, I guess we'll bring this back together, tie it up as we roll out of here, that we were talking earlier about non-white people and how they and their opinions are only valuable in this system if it leads to an anti-white conclusion. That's the truth. That's the way it is. And the moment that their opinions conflict with, and their actions conflict with anti-whiteism, they don't have to be white positive or white sympathetic. The moment they conflict, then anti-whiteism attacks them just like it attacks any of us, because they're getting in the way. One of the examples that I've often given is of free speech. You'll very often see folks who consider themselves Republicans, conservatives, whatever it might be, and they'll say, I will defend free speech no matter what. Those people are immediately attacked as things like the anti-white slur, racist, and many other things. Anti-whites will call them dangerous and irresponsible, and all of the, and they're going to cause or engender all of this waves of tyranny and hurt and defamation and anything else under the sun. Because why? If we can talk, then anti-whites and our words are going to be heard by the population. Anti-whites lose their control over the minds of our brothers and sisters out there. And if they lose control over their minds because they are controlling that narrative, they're losing control of what they think, and that means they lose control of the way they act. Elon Musk, a brilliant individual, extraordinarily wealthy, has stepped up to this free speech absolutist position. And he's going, seemingly, to defend that to the hilt. Well, that is going to draw out the anti-whites to attack him, which might mean that he ends up developing a particular personal, enduring hatred for them. We can only hope that it lasts and drives him to some extremes. And on that note, we will roll out.
Exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.